Welcome back to the Beyond the Dojo podcast. I'm Lauren.
I'm Jeremiah.
And this is episode 23. And I did check.
Yeah, because you don't want to embarrass yourself.
Well, I didn't want to mess it up again because last time I got the number wrong. So, anywho, episode 23. I actually just had to look at the computer to see what day it was because I honestly can't remember anymore what day it is. It's like we're just in the void.
Yeah.
You should see Jeremiah's hair right now and my hair.
Yeah.
We look like we haven't left the house in ages. So we're currently still in the middle of stay-at-home orders, and I know that every place in the world is a little bit different as to how your government is handling things. We're in Florida.
Yeah.
So we are, that's kind of what we're talking about today is like what the heck's going on in the middle of our pandemic stuff. Florida is entering phase 1 tomorrow.
Yeah, so the restaurants are open for pickup and...
Well, they've been open for pickup, but restaurants are doing... I guess it's like 25% capacity indoors. Right. And then, they want them to offer outdoor seating with lots of spacing.
Right. Well, I'm just glad that phase 1 includes beaches open and stuff like that. It was kind of cool to go to the beach today.
Yeah, and honestly, I know that people freak when they see these stupid photos, which obviously some of those photos were not real. Those were really old photos of people packed on Jacksonville's beach. But it's almost never that packed. I've never been to a beach where it was that close together. Like, you're always literally at least 20 feet away from any person in any direction. So,
no one wants to be on top of each other.
Yeah. So, unless it's like spring break, that's different. But outside of that, it's really not that bad. But anyway, what was not funny, I guess, but kind of funny, is that, let's see, I don't even know what week this is. Is this like week 7 of quarantine? I haven't counted them either.
I don't count.
After week 3, I lost track of where we were. Jeremiah and I talked about it, and we, based on what everybody else was saying, we fully expected to be able to reopen the dojo this coming Monday. I know it feels like last week, but it's actually not until tomorrow. Because that's when we're entering phase 1. We figured, okay, we'll probably limited capacity. Right? And we're considered a fitness facility, even though we're not really a gym, except for the training room in the back there. But, we definitely have a lot more space, and people aren't really touching each other.
Yeah. That's the conundrum, right? Is that the karate schools are kind of caught in the bad part of being labeled one thing when it's really somewhat different. Yeah, it's like more open space. Yeah. But long story short, we don't get to open yet. So exactly. We're like, wow, okay. So we're just going to chat about some stuff we've been doing on quarantine. Because we did a pre stay-at-home order podcast, and we talked about what our plans were because we hadn't started them yet. Mm-hmm. So we started with getting our students on Zoom. Mm-hmm. Yep. And how do you think that's gone? Honestly, the longer it goes, the worse it gets. I ain't gonna lie. It seems like the kids, at first it was a novel thing, but now it's getting to the point where they're easily distracted. Mm-hmm. They're kind of fading off quickly. Yeah. It just puts it on us to make it, I guess, a better product. But at the same time, it's like, well, how much do you invest into teaching on Zoom when it could be over next week or 2 weeks from now? Yeah. And none of our adults wanted to do this. So we had it set up so that you could do a coaching call where there's 3 or around 3 of you, and we can see you and you can see us, and we're basically teaching a small class, and we're able to make corrections. That was one thing we did. The second thing that we did was make supplementary training videos so they could watch them on their own time and train on those. The third thing that we did was we do a live stream, so we don't make corrections in order to save some bandwidth speed because we live in a rural area and people's bandwidth is really bad. So they could kind of do all 3 or just 1 or whatever. We're trying to cover as many bases as we could. I would definitely say that this past week was the worst week. Yeah, no one wanted to be involved, basically.
Yeah, part of the problem is we figured doing this over Zoom, we would be able to watch for certain errors and we would be able to correct them as they happen. No, not at all. And then part of it's because of the
bandwidth, you were saying. We're on delay, TV delay sometimes. We're saying something, and then 3 seconds later, you can see the kids going, "Oh, okay." Yeah. And it's like,
Yeah, definitely this slows the whole class down. Yeah. But even worse is when students have really, really slow internet.
you're wanting to make a correction to them, but that image of them in that position is getting to you late, so they're already moved on to something else, and you're like, oh my god, that was wrong. But yeah, it's been kind of frustrating.
Yeah, but at the same time, it is rewarding knowing that even though it's not even nowhere near close to being the real class and everything, you still have students that are committed, and kids that are frustrated doing it still stick around and come back every time. So it's just they're not happy.
Yeah, we have some students that ask us every single week, so are you guys gonna open yet? And we're like, dude, it's not really our choice.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's been
interesting. I'm ready for it to go back to at least being open and getting back on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, because this is still our plan. This is what we figured this would happen sooner, but we're assuming, right, that we're going to have to open at minimal capacity.
Right.
We're not going to be able to just pack everybody in there. So we figured if we have to add in additional classes in order to take care of people that are there, then we'll do it. I mean, because...
Yeah, and we already decided also that the Zoom app will be perfect for the parents.
Yeah.
Instead of having them sit in the lobby, they can sit in the cars, watch the class.
Yeah. Especially
or
if we have
sit
to
outside. I mean, because we do have seating arrangements, It's
not
like we have... In some places, you don't have that at all, so...
Yeah, because if we're going to have to limit how many people are in the building, we may as well say, like, parents, you got to go.
Yeah. I mean,
even though they trust us, still, it would be better to have, like, that surveillance there.
Yep.
So that's kind of the plan for when we reopen. So how about, like, do you feel like being in quarantine has changed your own training at all?
Like anything, I think life slows down enough for where you could genuinely get even a better practice in a sense.
Okay.
The quarantine for me it's changed. It's changed the way I felt about where I'm living. If that makes any sense. I feel more connected to the community now for some reason. Like we've been through something together. I don't know, but beforehand it was like, oh yeah, it's the new guy, or this guy's not from around here, so it's that non-local attitude.
Yeah.
All y'all country folk know what I'm talking about. You just don't have the privilege of moving to another country place where people give you the same stink eye y'all gave everybody else. Ain't no different than Archer. Everybody waves to each other. It's kind of crazy. It's just you're not the local anymore.
Yeah, but what about your karate training and
personally karate training itself? I don't relate the breakthroughs or the change in my practice to the quarantine itself. I relate that to other events in my life, like politely being called fat.
Okay.
I mean, you got to understand the context of the whole conversation and the person that gave it the correction to me. It takes a lot for him to speak up about something like that. He's very respectful to people. He's very respectful about your body. I mean, he's not going to body shame you.
Yeah.
But he's not going to lie to you either. So, yeah, you're going to be all right.
Yeah.
If your body composition affects your technique, that's what it is.
Just to recap, we talked about in the last episode, Jeremiah got informed that it might be helpful for his karate if he just dropped a couple pounds.
Lose the pot belly.
Well, that was the technical term that was used.
Exactly the technical term.
The technical term was pot belly, but
Hey, whatever.
Which is also funny because we're surrounded by pigs. Like, literally, we have, like, potbelly pigs living right next to our house. Yeah. And somebody dropped off some potbelly pigs in the neighborhood, so they literally just wander yard to yard, just rooting things up. So we're so used to seeing potbelly pigs. And I'm like, it doesn't look like that.
Dude, it made me feel like Far and Away in the gluttonous scene.
Spirited Away, I'm sorry.
Spirited
Away is, like, one of my favorite cartoon movies of all time.
Kokoro, yeah.
What?
The character Kokoro?
No, that's a different movie.
That's a different one.
No, her name is Hiro.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bad. But yeah, it just makes me think of the gluttonous scene.
Yeah.
Everybody turns into a pig.
Yeah.
The buffet.
Yeah. Yeah. So the scene that I always talk about from the movie, because I'm in the fitness industry, I never really thought about this as much growing up, but as I became an adult, this is just a personal thing. When I go into buffet-style restaurants, sometimes, depending on like how gluttonous people are in the restaurant, I think of the scene from Spirited Away where her parents went up to the counter and they just started eating food and nobody was there and they turned into pigs. I think the worst I ever like experienced that image in my head was we went down to Sarasota and we went to the Dutch, whatever it was called. It's like another Amish place because Yoder's was packed that day. And it was really, really bad. The food was awful. I'm sorry. It was really bad. But also the people were just like stuffing their faces. And I was like, oh God, this will drive someone to anorexia. I mean, it was so, yeah. Anyway, so that's where that scene comes from. I feel like I've definitely slowed. I mean, I think everybody's saying they've felt like they've slowed down since quarantine started because, I mean, obviously we had to. It's been super strange because, like, last year around this time, at the beginning of the year, Jeremiah's truck broke down. So we had one vehicle, and we were sharing this vehicle, having 2 dojos in 2 different counties, plus extra work that we're doing. So Jeremiah was having to take me to work, and I stayed at work for 12 to 14 hours a day, 4 to 5 days a week. And then I would have to wait for him to come and pick me up. So those 10 weeks like flew by, and next thing we knew, it was like almost summertime.
Yeah.
But this year was totally different because now we can be at home the majority of the time. We can go to up to the dojo and do our classes because it's our standalone building. But it's gone so much slower. But I feel like it's taught me a lot about the value of my time, like what I'm dedicating my time to, and it's taught me. It's starting to teach me to be a little bit more disciplined with like my own training, with how much I'm putting my body through, with allowing myself to get some rest so that I don't overdo it, so that I don't constantly get injuries. And also, like, I thought about it too, even today, we're not on the floor near as much because we're not teaching our students. So the ratio of like time that I'm training versus time that I'm teaching is definitely higher, and I think that I've seen a little bit of an improvement in my own karate just because I've spent more time being deliberate about fixing my own issues rather than constantly just moving around and maybe repeating bad habits while teaching somebody else. So there's definitely a lot of value in like self-training, but being able to have that step back from constantly showing and teaching and stuff,
let's be real.
It's made it easier.
When we're teaching a different kind of karate. We're teaching the most fundamental, basic, rudimentary.
Yeah, in a lot of cases.
Not only technique, but approach. And it's not what we're working on. It's not the small things we're working on. So.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I think a lot more people are becoming more zen in a sense.
Okay.
Being in the moment, focusing on that one thing, and then moving on.
Yeah.
Maybe I think it has something to do with I think it's possibly the idea that you can die. You can catch this thing, and it can it's pretty serious.
Yeah.
And when that happens, like in war and stuff, that a lot of people start to look at themselves and say, what's wrong with me, or what's who am I really?
Yeah.
And I think Zen approach to life is a very common outlet or a choice for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's legit in a sense to me.
Yeah.
It's not a religion or anything to me. It's just saying, okay, I want to commit myself completely to this task and then move on to the next. Not trying to crowd myself and clutter myself all the time.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, some other interesting things, I don't know if we want to talk about this yet because it hasn't actually happened yet, and maybe the plans aren't fully underway, but it gave us new ideas about how we want to structure like our schedule and like how we view our business too. Like we had some discussions today about all that stuff, and it's something I thought about a little bit. But the first thing that we decided was like we've spent the past 3 years essentially trying things and then cutting them out, and then trying new things and cutting them out because we don't know what works until we try it.
Right.
And sometimes it's a timing thing. We might have a great idea, but it doesn't really work that well. Like the
logistically,
like the intermediate kata class was totally needed, and like we added that in, and we really even now like we wanted kids to go in that class because we had all these intermediates in the 9 to 12-year-olds class, but nobody ever attended it except for a couple of people, so they didn't really receive the benefits. So it was kind of useless. And then we tried to add in the sparring class, and even though the class was really, really good, there's only a couple of students. So we're learning to like trim the fat a little bit and see like how we can increase the value of some core classes that we have. We're going to be making some like shifting some classes around and whatnot. I will say like one of the best things that we've done since we opened this place is, this is going to sound really bad, but separating the students that don't really matter as much to the dojo versus the ones that do. And to me, that's an age thing. Like, I do enjoy teaching younger kids, but they're not necessarily contributing back to the dojo. They're just coming there because they're learning discipline, and we're fully investing in them.
Now,
and that's not to say that they can't, like, between the ages of 4 and 8.
Okay.
So even though one day they probably could contribute back, at this point they're not really, because they're just not capable, and they take a lot out of us. And the first step that we did was, originally our classes were 4 to 7 years old, 8 to 12 years old, and then teens and adults, and then advanced. The first step that we did was we took out the 4 and 5 year olds, and we're like, they need their own separate class. They're hellions. We can't do this. So we actually shifted them to a completely different schedule, completely different days.
Right.
And then we separated out our 6 to 8 year olds. And I think that setup is really, really good. But now, we have a growing 9 to 12 year olds class, and, a lot of them are getting pretty high up in rank. They need to be taught to specifically.
High up in rank means like intermediate level, I think.
Yeah, for 3 years. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Our highest ranked 9 to 12 year old is what?
Is a green belt.
6th Q, 5th Q?
She's 5th Q.
5th Q, right?
Yeah.
Right, so 5th Q, about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
We're not in a rush.
Yeah.
We don't get in a rush when it comes to testing.
But we have now, like, there's a total of about 10 6Q and, or so, 7th Q and above in that class. And then everybody else is white and yellow belts.
Right.
So now, and we've talked about this for like a year and a half, like, how are we going to try to reach both of these groups?
If this, lower.
Well, in number.
Number,
yeah. So 7th, 6th, and 5th Q. So how are we going to be able to teach those students and still reach the other? Because it's just getting to the point the disparity is so big. So we're trying to split that up a little bit. Yep. And then we're going to probably be taking our 6 to 8 year olds and moving them a little bit too. Yep. So sorry if you don't know that yet and you're listening and you're part of our dojo.
Yeah. We're going to rearrange. I mean, it's just part of it, Yeah. We gotta come back and be better suited for the people that we have in our dojo.
Yeah.
And then offer opportunities. We do have a big fallout in the 9 to 12 year olds when they get to orange green belt. A lot of the students don't stick on.
Well, we honestly don't have so far, but we've only had like 2 groups that have gotten up to that point. So
but that's already a trend we need to go ahead and look at.
Well, I think it's always a trend, but yeah.
Yeah, well, there's not always, because there's plenty of dojos out there that traditional have a large brown belt and black belt group.
So you think that just splitting them off and being able to teach them directly will help?
Yeah, I think being able to focus in on what they need to do, and then rewarding them either by letting them come in and helping out with other classes, or other things that makes them feel a little bit more special.
Yeah.
The big group mentality makes us feel good because there's a lot of people on the floor.
Yeah.
In reality, the student benefits from a small class.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense, because I remember when I was that age and that exact rank, I almost quit karate because I was like, I feel like I'm not learning anything, because I was in class with a bunch of beginners and I felt like I just wasn't going anywhere. And it wasn't until I pushed through that hump and finally got to green belt and then had a teacher come in who was really like on the green belts and above, then there was something more for me. But I felt like, just like they do, that there's I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, and that's the thing though, because they want to work on the katas they're working on and the things they're doing. Mm-hmm. It makes sense. So.
Yeah. So we're trying to, I guess what we've been talking about during this quarantine and what we've kind of been thinking about, what I know I've been thinking about is like, how can we optimize our schedule to make it better for us as teachers to be able to teach everyone to the utmost ability? If we're wearing ourselves out with early classes, and it's harder to teach the later classes, and then granted we've been trying to have a rotation schedule, and we're going to try to start involving other people in the dojo too, a little bit more, to give people more opportunity to teach. But how can we contribute to the long-term goal of making this dojo last a long time? Even though children do in a lot of ways pay the bills, really that's not going to necessarily sustain us long term unless we have a core group of older folks who are willing to continue to help us teach.
Right, and bridging gaps is another thing too, though.
Yeah.
I think the thing that's been helping us the most is this any kind of adversity, because you got to think when we first opened up the hurricane that year.
Oh, yeah. The first year we opened, there was a hurricane later in the year, and it knocked us way back.
Yeah, it knocked power out for a week or something like that. Really.
Well, no, we didn't lose power, but we lost a bunch of students that month. Like, our income was really low that month, so and then we took a long time to recover.
Yeah, it took us a while to recover, and we're still not really fully recovered.
Yeah.
So that being said, I think being fluid in our approach, not being stuck in this is the way it is and this is this and that.
Yeah.
We're always trying new things, and that's going to save us in the long run.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't look like it's going to work out anything, we stick to it for at least a set amount of a number of months before we get rid of it. And I'm saying this because I think in these times you have to be fluid. You don't know what the best solution is going to be until you do it.
Yeah.
Right? Even when we come back and we're opened up, who's to say that people are going to come back into society and be active in society right away? There might be a lot of people that are just going to say, I'm going to stay home for a while.
Yeah.
And you got to respect that. Right?
Yeah.
But you have to, as a business owner, still provide some kind of service that's worth something.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and we figure that we're going to have to continue the online stuff in some capacity, at least for a while. Even if we cut anything out, honestly, the first thing I want to cut out is the coaching calls, because they're just so difficult to run if we can. I mean, even if we do the live stream, I'm fine with that, and the other stuff too, or like sending in videos and giving them corrections.
I think sending in videos and talking on the phone about it is so much easier, because then you can both pull up on your device your video.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about it. I mean.
Yeah. In this case, I think it's definitely, if there was faster internet, we were in a city, might be totally different.
Yeah.
But just where we are, it's made it a lot harder. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. That's our particular situation. We have to change and be fluid too.
Yeah. Do you think that this is going to make any long-term impacts on the martial arts community or the karate community specifically?
Long term?
No, just at all. I don't know. Maybe for the next couple of years at least, but maybe long term. I don't know.
I don't know. I see positive out of it, because all these guys have been doing the online seminars and the free karate stuff at home and all that. I see that being a positive thing, as long as it's intended with the trying to promote the art and not yourself.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, lately it's been more about promoting themselves.
In some cases, yeah.
In some cases, and it's just,
It's funny, there's like groups on Facebook where people just post and post and post and post and share all the stuff that they've been doing, and we're like, okay, that's fine. You can share everything about you.
Well, it's not even that. It's what's the video focused on? Is it just you doing a kata and performing your best, or is it you trying to share an idea or concept? To me, one, the latter has more. More
bearing.
Hey, sorry.
He's CP.
Yeah. He has a wealth of knowledge, If you're going to share something, share some knowledge. Don't share what you could do.
Yeah.
Although I enjoy watching a great karate performance and love watching good karate, I'm not going to spend my time on a video doing that all the time. I want to learn something. I want to get something out of it. So
I think that
it's annoying. It's annoying that there's some people that take it to that approach where they're trying to just self-promote, and then there's other people that are genuine about it, and they're sharing what they got, and that's it.
Yeah, but I think that people who were afraid of being on video before, there's a pro and a con to this. People who were afraid of being on video before but probably should be, at least practicing, they got a chance to be on video because they had no other choice. The bad thing is that there are people who probably shouldn't be on video, and that's going to sound really harsh, but there's people who really need to just like go and train a whole lot and fix stuff rather than showing off. So yeah, just to your point, in some ways there's good stuff. Like, you didn't really feel that comfortable being on video. Do you feel more comfortable now that we've been doing this for 6 or 7 weeks?
A little bit more, but I'm not as self-conscious. But that's I'm talking about an amateur. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people that, trying to. I don't know, man. There's guys out there that they're hard like salesmen. They're trying to sell themselves so hard.
Well,
and
that's
I think that's the downfall. It's like everything. You have that utopia where when this idea comes out, people are doing it, and at first you're like, "Oh, this is awesome," and then all of a sudden it's like, it sours in your mouth.
Yeah, I know.
So.
Yeah, but I think that
I will say this.
We're probably going to continue to have this online component in some capacity.
Yeah,
I think people will probably do online seminars in some way from now on.
I think the online seminars is going to be the thing that gets the no names out. The guys that are training really, have something to offer, but not a lot of people are going to spend $100 a weekend for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They want to know more about them before they invest their money.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What's kind of funny is I guess a year or two ago, we actually had gotten a request from someone to train them online in karate, and we're like, I don't know if I really want to commit the time to do that. And then sure enough, we're training everyone online now. So I think from now on, we're probably going to always have some online component, from here on out. That way, we're always prepared for something like this.
Let's see, once this is over, the whole problem is now is we're doing this online stuff because we're just trying to Band-Aid a gap, right? We're putting a Band-Aid over a wound.
Right now, you mean?
Yeah, right now. I don't see us being able to have the ability to progress a student clearly and distinct and definitively enough to, I don't know, give rank. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know about ranking, but helping coach people who just genuinely enjoy it, I could kind of see that. I think it just depends on the exact modality that you use. Doing just Zoom, I don't think it's going to cut it, depending on where the person lives.
Yeah, so I think the online stuff is not going to be, for me personally, not going to take a white belt to a black belt.
Yeah. Well, I can see that because you need to have people.
I can see it as something as maybe a competitor or even just someone who's training seriously and wants to improve, and they're like, I need coaching. Mm-hmm. I can see that because you already got a foundation to base the play off and kind of work from there.
To be honest with you, so I train fitness clients online, and that's something that's usually suggested is generally you don't want to work with a beginner online. They need to have some kind of foundation, so they need to have a general idea of basic movements. Even if they're not perfect, if you have to coach those movements and have them send in videos, you can help them, but obviously you can't show them how to use a gym. You can't show them how to use the equipment. You can send them videos and try to coach them as much as you can from afar, but you can only do so much. So, you probably would want someone who has at least a little bit of background first. So, anyway.
Yeah. Other than that, it's kind of funny too, though. It's like, talking about the videos, it's funny to me to see certain guys, depending on their organization, how they teach. Mm-hmm. It affects even the way the style they teach or what they emphasize or how they emphasize something. Mm-hmm. It's just interesting.
Yeah, you can definitely see head instructors through these students, how they're teaching.
Yeah, exactly. You can see who their main influence is, which is expected, especially when you have someone that's going to might be larger in life to the student. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
just thought it was interesting because he was like, oh, okay, the mannerisms and everything.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess it's human nature to pick up mannerisms and stuff like that.
To try to pick up after people.
Yeah,
it's funny, it's usually the external or the things that you say. It's not necessarily the intrinsic things that they do. So you can watch a teacher and try to emulate them, but it doesn't mean that you're physically doing what they're doing.
Yeah, it just
you've seen that all too often.
Yeah.
So what you working on?
Been trying to strengthen my lower back, which means I've been doing a lot of glute work and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I've incorporated more conditioning and more strength stretching. Still working on side snap kick, keeping the knee in position, and just kind of learning to control the kick without anything else. And then working on roundhouse.
Nice.
Yeah, the roundhouse, I feel like my roundhouse is too stiff and forced, so I'm trying to relax it more. And, still make good impact, so a lot of bag work.
Yeah.
So.
I'm stuffy nose. I'm on a new strength training regimen, and I have all my in-person clients online right now, and I have an online group training thing that I had literally just started perfectly in time. So now they're all doing that, and I write workouts for everybody, and it's just a generalized workout, so it's a lower cost program. And I was like, I'm writing these workouts for my clients, I might as well do them. Well, so that's what I've started, and I actually feel pretty good. I think I'm overestimating my strength and endurance here. So definitely did a lot better doing their program because I'm a wimp. And then karate stuff. The last thing I was working on was being smooth in the end of switching the inside block to step in punch, and then I was just kind of watching. Oh, it was the timing issue there. So I was watching the timing of the step in, like the actual punch versus the back leg drive whenever you're after 60% of the movement, and comparing that to step in punch from front stance. And I got the stamp of approval on those. So those are doing better. So I don't really know what I'm working on next. I'm still thinking about it.
Sounds like someone thinks they arrived.
I don't think I arrived, but I think that I've been working on step in punch for like 5 years. All thank you.
I got the stamp of approval.
Thank you. Are you kidding me? We literally talked about this last time about how I was like, I literally have to do step in punch again, but thank God it's not horrible. So, I'm doing all right for myself. Like 5 years. That's longer than it takes for someone to get to black belt if they train regularly, and I was working on step in punch almost the whole time.
That makes you a very special student.
I am so special. Welcome to, what's it, Yadansha?
Yadansha
Welcome
life.
to Yadansha land. Yes.
Yadansha land.
Where you work on step and punch for 5 years.
Hey.
Bunch of freaks.
Hey, ask any artist. The longer you do it, the less you work on. It's the smaller things.
Also, just a side note about the training online stuff. I think, was it Aiden Trumbull that said this in that interview with Scott Langley? Somebody was saying that jiu-jitsu guys are trying to do like flow drills, and it's like, oh, welcome to kata. That's exactly what we're doing all the time. Stop making fun of us.
Exactly.
Anyway, hope you guys are having fun with your flow drills, aka kata, and whatever training you're doing on your own.
Whatever training you're doing, make it authentic.
Hope you guys are safe and have not caught the Rona. And I guess we'll see you next time. We actually won't see you. But
COVID-19.
Hey, go look up Kenneth Copeland COVID-19 rap. You can thank me later. Or don't thank me because it'll be stuck in your head all week. Bye.
Bye.